It's time to have a look at the Stockholm Syndrome and appease the abuser mentality of dog culture. So it looks like Mike Rowe got himself bit by a dog. So who is this guy? Let's have a look. So this is the guy from Dirty Jobs. It's a pretty popular and interesting series where he goes around and climbing around in sewer pipes and other type stuff where it's very dangerous. He can get injured. He can breathe in volatile organic compounds, VOCs, stuff like that. Like here he is. These are all pictures from him doing dirty jobs. And the thesis of this kind of show that he does is like he's trying to show you all the nasty jobs that some people have to do. So you can kind of appreciate the risks of doing it. So that's Mike Rowe, in case you haven't looked it up. If you're familiar with this, you probably already know what I'm talking about. So let's move on to something else. First, we have to look at the appease the abuser. So here's a little summary from Psychology Today and HealthyPlace.com. When you appease the abuser, it involves trying to please them, to avoid conflict or prevent further abuse. This can empower the abuser and escalate the situation. It's important to recognize that appeasement is a survival tactic that may not lead to a healthy relationship dynamic. So when you appease the abuser to kind of like stay in a safe space, that's like a survival tactic. However, the abuser ends up thinking that what they did was okay. And the people that are observing you being abused, they think it's okay too. And this is very important to understand right now because Mike Rowe is a big public figure that a lot of people look up to. So he is appeasing the abuser, the dog and the dog owner. And people are observing that. And as Mike Rowe makes a bunch of excuses for the dog and the dog owner, everybody out in society that respects Mike Rowe, they're looking at that too. And when their toddler gets bit, when they get bit, when their pet dog gets bit, they are using this appease the abuser mentality that they learned from Mike Rowe. So this is absolute freaking bullshit. Mike Rowe needs to report that person that bit his leg. And Mike Rowe, with all this influence that he has, he needs to at least speak out against this type of attack. Because if he had a toddler with him, or his wife or girlfriend, or one of his producers that was carrying a camera, and they got bit, and then he acted like this, that's just terrible. So now we got to look at another word called kowtow. So this is called an act of deep respect shown by prostration, that is kneeling and bowing so low as to have one's head touching the ground. So I'm showing you guys this word because this is what Mike Rowe is doing. He's kowtowing to dog culture. He's putting aside his own safety. He's putting aside his own quality of life to basically kneel to the ground and kiss the feet of the dog culture. He doesn't want to upset any of the dog owners by speaking the truth, and that's very similar to the definition of kowtow. So let's look at a little summary from Stockholm Syndrome. This can occur in situations involving physical violence, where the victims develop emotional bonds with their abusers as a coping mechanism. This leads to feelings of loyalty and sympathy towards the abuser despite the harm they inflict. Wow. Okay, so we've looked at those things, so let's go back and have a look at Mike Rowe. So what does Mike Rowe have to say? Let's read his little thing here. So he says he loves dogs, but he found one this morning that didn't love him. A bulldog. A stroller was being pushed. Okay, so he says that we approached each other on the skinniest part of the walking path down by the bay where hedges on the side forced us much closer. Okay, so already he's starting to excuse the dog's behavior. It's the hedges, it's the path that forced them closer. Already he's starting to kowtow. He's starting to appease the abuser. He's starting to move towards Stockholm syndrome. This is closer than they otherwise would have been. Oh, so the poor doggy, the hedges in the path pushed them closer. Uh-oh. He made as much room as he could for the dogs and the stroller and the man, but the dog expressed his displeasure. So the dog didn't attack him. The dog didn't bite him. Aw, he was expressing his displeasure. Aw. Guys, this is freaking Stockholm Syndrome. This is ridiculous. For a public figure like Mike Rowe to be downplaying the violence of a dog bite is freaking ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Especially when so many toddlers are bit by dogs. It's ridiculous, Mike Rowe. So let's see what else he has to say. A couple of things worth noting. First of all, it didn't feel like a bite, more like a pinch. More freaking downplaying. This is like a rape victim saying that the guy was drunk so he didn't know better. This is the appease the abuser, you guys. Secondly, the dog's teeth didn't tear my sweatpants. Damn. So when I pulled up my pant leg to inspect the damage, I was surprised to see the blood flowing down my calf. You're surprised that a fang predator was able to puncture your skin? Like, I know that Mike Rowe is not this freaking stupid, but he's playing stupid to kowtow to the dog culture. Then he says, thirdly, and most interestingly, was my exchange with the dog owner. Oh crap, did he get you, Mike? Yeah, he got me. Oh no, you're bleeding? Yeah, but it's no big deal. Boom, again, downplaying the frickin' situation. I'm sorry, he said. I assume he had his shots? Shots? What does that have to do with anything? Like that makes it okay? And shots don't necessarily do anything. Hold up. Boom. Sepsis. It doesn't matter if you had your shots. Sepsis and capnocytophaga are a huge issue with dog bites that hardly anybody talks about. It causes limb loss, organ failure, stress, irritation. Even the mildest of symptoms of this are absolutely nasty. So what if the dog didn't have its shots? It probably just consumed the turd of another animal a quarter mile back down the trail. So, absolutely, said the man. I just got him from a shelter. I mean, so what? So now he's trying to upplay the dog. Oh, he's a shelter dog. Oh, okay. Well, then I guess it's okay. It's kind of like somebody rapes you, and it's like, well, he was drunk and I made him mad. Hey, that's great, says Mike Rowe. I really don't understand why dog lovers don't go that route. Because shelter dogs are freaking stupid. They're like secondhand junk dogs that people gave up on. And you can see why they give up on them, because they freaking bite people. So instead of addressing the bite, instead of addressing the dog attacking Mike Rowe, now Mike Rowe is using this whole shelter dog thing. He's trying to push adoptions instead of push awareness. Me too, said the man. You really can't beat a shelter dog. What? The dog just bit him, and you're upplaying him. Okay. I mean, are we even surprised with this? No. With that, we wished each other a nice day and continued in opposite directions. But 4 hours later, I'm back home and struck by the way I tried to minimize the incident. Ooh, we're getting some self awareness here, aren't we? I had done nothing wrong, and yet I felt guilty for putting my leg in the way of the animal's teeth. What's up with that? I'll tell you what's up with that, Micro. It's called Stockholm Syndrome, appeasing the abuser. And that's exactly what you're doing here. And you should go back and make another post and post up all the information about sepsis, toddler attacks, and how shelter dogs are one of the worst freaking dogs for attacking people. And he says he's empathetic, blah, 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 socks, vain. Clearly, the man recognized me from television. You know, if he recognized you from television, he should have pulled the dog out of the way. For whatever reason, I downplayed the whole thing. Yep, you downplayed it. What if that had been your kid? What if that had been your own dog? What if that had been one of your producers or cameramen? You're going to sit there and expect them to be attacked like you allowed yourself to be attacked? What about all your followers that have had this stuff happen to them? And sorry about that. Look at what Mike Rowe says at the very end. He goes back to blaming it on the trail. Oh, the trail was too narrow. So what? The dog attacked you, but the fault is back on the trail. So after all that self-awareness, you go back and you blame it on the trail. Oh my God. Freaking ridiculous, Mike Rowe. Let's have a quick look at the comments. So a couple people actually told Mike Rowe in the comments that he should go get this checked out. And if you notice, 34 people. So let me point this out right here. 34 people are mad that this person right here, it looks like her name is Susan. Susan said that should be turned in as a bite. Susan is backing up Mike Rowe. Yet you got 34 freaking people that are upset. They're upset that Mike Rowe is being encouraged to stand up for himself. So this really shows everybody, this really illustrates how absolutely brain dead and brainwashed everybody is when they're looking at this dog culture. They allow this stuff to happen. They excuse it. They appease the abuser. They do all of the symptoms of Stockholm Syndrome. And if you look at the comments, 34 people put a angry response when somebody recommended that Mike Rowe get his stuff checked out and reported as a bite. Wow. So anyways, there you go, Mike Rowe. When you say, what's up with that? Right here. Well, I just explained it for you. The links will be in the description. Thanks, everybody. See y'all later.